Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard, and we are back. We've been gone for a little while, had a lot of things going on, but we're going to wrap up the Ducks season. We're going to talk about the Gulls as well. They got eliminated, unfortunately, in the playoffs. We'll also talk about the Ducks and kind of what we think is going to happen in the summer a little bit. Some trade rumors going around still with this team. We'll talk about the draft lottery and the playoffs are underway. And Eddie's second team is doing very well, and my second team is doing very well. So we'll talk about them in addition to all the stuff going on with the Ducks. But let's kind of get caught up. Eddie, what's been going on lately, man? It's been a few weeks. You and I have been just crazy, running around busy. What have you been up to?
Just everything. Work, school, hockey, just having a crazy, busy life. I wasn't used to that. People that have been long-time listeners, I always prided myself of having just kind of zero responsibility, just going to school or just going to work and things like that. Now it's just doing everything both, and it seems like it's getting full-time. Cybersecurity work, people that work in that field, it's extremely hard, and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of time, but I'm grinding it out. And then Mike, my scion, my baby that I've had forever, my true love, got into a collision. I don't want to say accident. There's no such thing as an accident, but yeah, I let my girlfriend take my car, and she ended up having a collision. So stupid me recently switched down to liability from full coverage because my mind was like, okay, I'm a good driver. I haven't been in an accident in like 15 years. I think I've got rear-ended twice since I've been driving. It's like, okay, I don't need full coverage. It's not going to happen to me. Well, now I'm going to have to spend about $2,500 to $3,000 to fix my car. I'm like, man, and I have such sentimental value to that car. I just can't let it go like that. So I'm just going to just be out that money. So might do a GoFundMe. You guys could help resurrect my beautiful scion.
Hey man, that's what happens when you let a Kings fan drive your car. So
yep,
that's on
there we
you.
Go. There we go. Oh yeah, never again. If she ever drives any of my cars again, I'm making her wear a Ducks jersey, and that's non-negotiable.
There you go. But on a serious note, she was okay. That's the main thing. I know we joke, Kings, Ducks. I know your girl likes the Kings, but at least she was okay. So that's the big thing.
Oh yeah,
Eddie.
Yeah, the first question I asked her if she was okay. I had a bad feeling about her driving that day too. It's one of those sixth sense that people get. But yeah, I think she was more in shock, and she was more just emotionally not like feeling okay, thinking I was mad at her. But I just told her, hey, it's just a car. Accidents happen. It's materialistic. You're okay. I'm a firm believer that the whole universe makes things happen for a reason, and either she was driving or if I was driving, that car was going to be wrecked that day regardless. So who knows, if I was driving the car, it could have been a fatal, and I could have died or something. So maybe her driving it that day, oh well, it's a little bit of damage. It could be fixed. She's okay. We're okay. I'm still here. I'm drinking Miller Lite, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I was going to transition to that too. It cracked me up. So we were laughing. I think we talked a couple shows before about what we would drink come playoffs, and yeah, the Ducks are not in the playoffs, so we don't have a playoff drink for the Ducks, but I'm doing Red Bull vodka right now. I know it's kind of old school or whatever, but that's what I'm having right now. And I did spend last week in Arizona and also in Vegas for a little bit too. So I kind of did a little road trip, had to get away. Stuff's been crazy for me too as well. I actually got a promotion at work, which has been good, more money, but also a lot more responsibility. I've been working some crazy hours. So I know, Eddie, you've helped out a lot with the Twitter on the final games and some of the stuff getting posted recently. So been a little bit crazy and hectic for both of us. So glad we're back doing the show. Obviously, the season's done for the Ducks, so we'll have shows talking about free agency and different things like that. We have the draft lottery to get to a little bit later in the show. That was announced today. The order, we'll go over that. But kind of rewind a little bit. The Ducks season ended. like we said, they didn't make the playoffs. They did lose to LA in the last couple games. But a couple memorable things did happen at the end of the season. I did go to the game against St. Louis, where Getzlaf played his final game as a Duck, also at Honda Center. The game started out good for the Ducks. They didn't have a lot of shots on net, but they were up 2-0 in this game. And then they just kind of went downhill after that, sadly. They gave up 4 goals in a row in a span of about 7 minutes in the second period. A couple goals in the third. Next thing you knew, they were down 6-2 and ended up losing 6-3. But the wins and losses wasn't as big of a deal in this. We posted Getzlaf talking at the end of the game, his gratitude. He also got that assist on the Ducks' last goal. And I went with my buddy Brian. You may know him. He runs Ref You Suck. Ironically, he and it's between, I don't know who it is, Eddie. It's either him and I or you and I that have been to all these games where it's final player career. Like you and I went to Ryan Miller recently in his last game. Brian and I went to Temu's last game against the Kings in the playoffs, as you all remember. Sorry to bring up old wounds, but he and I went to this game. The Ducks did lose, but I shed a little bit of tears, not going to lie. It was crazy. Just, I don't know, it's just end of an era, man. I was kind of speechless at the end of that game. I just thought it was befitting, though, Eddie, that he got that assist on that last goal. It's just the way he went out. We always joke about him being, a passer instead of a scorer, more so, and that's how he went out. And I wish the Ducks would have won, but other than that, I thought it was a great ending to his career.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was phenomenal. I really thought he was going to shoot, and I thought he was going to score, and everyone was going to go crazy. But him making that pass to Henrique was just so fitting. I don't care how bad the Ducks played and how they got their asses beat. That 6-3 loss, it's just, I'm not going to remember that. I'm going to remember that beautiful assist as his final game. It's funny, I think Henrique was saying, somewhere on Twitter I saw posted, how him and Akins are going to try to convince Getzlaf to come back for one more season because he still has the ability to play. I doubt that's going to happen. It's just funny for them to joke about that. He deserved this. It was coming. He's gave everything to this franchise, to hockey in Southern California, and it sucks that we're losing him. It's going to feel really weird that Getzlaf won't be there, but I'm glad he was there to mentor someone like Zegras, and he can Zegras can kind of look up to see how a captain's supposed to act, and he can just kind of fill in that role. Obviously not real soon, but he can just kind of develop and mature and kind of be the Ducks' next captain in the far near future.
That's a big topic too with the Ducks, is who will be the next captain. After that game, the Ducks had a couple more games, and they went with all alternates for those games. They didn't pick a captain. So I don't know what they're going to do next season. It's kind of interesting. A lot of you out there, you feel it really strong that Fowler will be the next captain. Some of you mentioned Henrique. And this is kind of interesting, Eddie. I don't know what you think about this, but there's been talk, too, that the Ducks might not even have a captain next season and go with 3 alternates. We've seen that a handful of times before the season. What do you think about that? Do you think the Ducks should name someone next season, or do you think that maybe they go with 3 alternates?
Well, I understand the 3 alternates this season. You're obviously not going to name a captain that quick once Getzlaf announces retirement. And also, he wasn't officially retired. That was his last game, but he was still part of the roster. Those other 2 games, he just wasn't official until the season ended. That's when it became official. I'm not a fan of the 3 alternates. I think you have to establish a leader and build around that, and that leader has to kind of be the voice in the locker room, that lead by example. It doesn't have to be your best player. There's countless teams, or a few teams that had bottom 6 players that can fill that C role. Just who's going to be the best leader, and who's ever going to look up to when you're down, you're having those down times. The Ducks are still in a rebuild, so they're going to need someone strong that can pick them up and just help them develop, and help these young kids like Troy Terry and like Zegras that are developing into superstars kind of know how to conduct themselves and be as captains.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I love Zegras. I love Terry. is it too soon for one of them to be captain, or do you think the Ducks go with Henrique or Fowler? They're the ones that are the most. I mean, Fowler obviously has been there his whole career. He's locked up through 25, 26. You have Henrique through 23, 24. Everybody else is pretty much short of that outside of Gibson, obviously. But what do you think? I mean, do you think a Terry or a Zegras is too soon next season? Do you think they go for a Fowler? A lot of people are talking about Cam Fowler or maybe a Henrique. I mean, what do you think? I'm with you. I don't like the three alternates. I don't like that at all. I think they got to pick a captain. But do you think it would be too soon for a Terry or a Zegras to take on that role next season?
Yes, especially Zegras. It's just let him develop and let him keep developing in his own way. Don't add that extra responsibility, throwing a C on his chest. Now he has to answer for how bad the team's playing. If the coach is losing, he has to answer for that. It's just too much. I think it's too much responsibility for a kid that young. It takes a very special player to be able to accept that captaincy role and know how to run with it, and not everyone can do it. Not saying he's immature, he can't handle it. Not saying Terry's immature and can't handle it. It's just I prefer to see someone more in an established veteran role, or that had a few more seasons under their belt, that know the rigorous things of the NHL. Zegras hasn't really digressed or had that adversity really yet. He's just been playing well since he came into the league. Yes, he hasn't played his best that first season he had, but he still played pretty damn well as being that rookie, trying that Michigan move his first game, and he's had a tremendous season this season. Like, why hinder that by throwing in extra responsibility? Let him just develop into that leader he's going to be, that everyone knows he's going to be in the future. He's going to be our superstar, so just let him ease into that. If you want in the preseason games, when you have some of those veterans out, just give him the A. Let him rock that. Let him see how it goes with that. A feel of that responsibility. And then let's ride this season out. Let's get through this rebuild. Let him develop into the superstar, and then we'll consider giving him that C that he's going to ultimately wear one day in Anaheim.
Yeah, one thing I do like about Zegras recently was he was talking about the whole thing with the Calder Trophy and, who's going to win it. Obviously, you got a couple guys over there in Detroit. We've seen some of the fans go back and forth and whatnot between the Ducks and the Red Wings. But I thought his quote about winning that trophy was interesting. He talked about how it wasn't that big of a deal to him, and that if he did win it, it wouldn't be because of just him, but because of his teammates and the effort of everybody around him. And I thought that was huge. I mean, he's still a young guy. Yeah, he makes goofy faces and we crack up with the gifs and all that stuff. But to me, Eddie, that was huge for him to make that kind of a statement, because it's not all about him. He knows that. And I think that's a huge thing. And he's also giving credit to his teammates, and that's what a leader does.
Yeah, and I loved hearing those words from him. He's telling everyone right there he cares and focuses on that logo in front and the name on the back, and that's what a leader should be. That's something that I'm sure that we all know Getzlaf is a big believer in. He's never been one to talk about himself or talk about his accomplishments, nor does he want that recognition, or he cares. All he cares about is the Ducks and the Anaheim Ducks moving forward. Look at that trade deadline when obviously we know he didn't want to leave Anaheim, but he said, hey, if you can get some assets for me, then help the team, then go ahead and do it. That's a true leader right there. You're putting your team before yourself first.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think I'm with you. I think it's a little bit early still with Zegras and Terry. So I'm really curious to see what they do next season. I don't like the three alternate deal, but I think maybe they do give it to Fowler. Maybe he runs with it for a year or two, and then they give it to Zegras. It's kind of something that I'm thinking about. But I'm really curious to see. A lot of unsolved questions going into this offseason. And another part of this too, I guess, is kind of the goalie situation. The Ducks, their last game of the season, they lost to Dallas. Another game where they got ahead. Comtois, who actually played well down the stretch at the end of the season, started the Ducks off, and they ended up losing this game. ultimately 4-2. But you had Gibson go down in the first period. You had Stolarz go down second period. You had Tom Hodges come in as the emergency backup goalie, which everybody loves. He finished the game for the Ducks, but the Ducks ended up losing. And it's kind of an interesting situation, Anaheim. It was a great story for Tom. I mean, he never played an NHL game, partially blind. He was able to come in and play for Anaheim in that final game. I always crack up about this Ducks team. It seems like no matter if they're first or worst, there's always something that happens with them, something exciting or something crazy to talk about. So I'm really curious to see with this team what's going to happen. You know, we got to talk about obviously the captain situation as we mentioned, but then we got to figure out what's going to happen with the goalie situation. So a great moment for Tom Hodges at the end there of the season, but for the Ducks, a lot of talk about Gibson, and what's going to happen in the offseason. I'm really curious. There's a lot of question marks for this team going into the offseason, Eddie. What did you think? They had him and Stolarz go down that last game. I know a lot of the critics against Gibson think that he gets hurt all the time and he shouldn't be in there. More people are leaning towards Stolarz being in there. They signed Callie Klang too. It was another move that came up to a 3-year entry-level contract. You got Dostal as well in the wings. What do you think? I mean, just a lot of question marks with this team. What are your thoughts on that final game and the goalie situation with Anaheim?
I believe it was discussed by Stolarz and Gibson to both fake an injury that game. Just so they can give this young man a chance. They knew his situation. That they thought it'd be cool to give that him a chance and the fans that. My sources trust me, bro. No, but you know what? I don't like seeing them hurt, but I'm kind of glad they did that game because giving this young man an opportunity to get out there and live a dream that pretty much most of us would jump to an opportunity. It'd be awesome. I think my biggest thing close to ever coming to the NHL is getting hit in the face with a puck at a game, and that's my little glory thing. But I think that would make this game more interesting, and that really brought that much more spotlight and attention to the Ducks. And I forgot the fan. I mentioned this 3 times, and I need to look your name up. But you asked a question a while ago of how the media and stuff can bring more attention to the Ducks. Zegras has obviously done that. Stories like this, having an e-bug come in and kind of play a game and live the dream. That just fired up. That was the talk of the hockey world that day. It was good to see. It was fun. It sucks that the Ducks lost, which honestly, I started to root for the Ducks to lose because I wanted a higher ranking in that draft pick. But I mean, we're stuck at what we are. I reached out to him too. I had a good conversation with him on Facebook. He was excited to jump on the show, so hopefully we can reach back out to him, or he can shoot us a text back and we can get him on the show because I'm pretty sure the fans and I'm pretty sure you and I, Mike, we have a bunch of questions about his experience, and I'm pretty sure he loves to talk about it and relive it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a great story for the Ducks at the end. Obviously, not making the playoffs and losing and whatnot, but great to see him in there. Live out his dream. He got to play in an NHL game, which he never thought was possible. So that made that last part of the season, enjoyable to watch and whatnot. So that was fun. And yeah, we reached out to him. So hopefully we'll do an interview with him shortly in the near future. So the Ducks, they ended up, going out and losing. No, we know they weren't going to make the playoffs. Not a big deal. So you were like, okay, the Gulls are in the playoffs. You're all excited. They end up playing the Ontario Reign, best of 3 games, and the Gulls lose the 2 games and get eliminated. Kind of frustrating. Thomas, who's doing a lot of the articles on the minor league stuff and AHL stuff, and he's got a lot of stuff coming in the summer, as he always does with his prospect articles as well. He put out an article covering this, and the Gulls, they were up 2-0 in the first game. It looked good, but then they got down 4-2. Kind of fought back, got within a goal, but then the Reign ended up scoring 3 more straight, and they lost that first game 7-4. The Gulls got Zellweger in there after their season ended, but It didn't help. They got down 2-0. They fought back in game 2, went to overtime and lost that one. So kind of a frustrating. I was hoping that the Gulls would, beat the rain and keep on going, but no more hockey for the Ducks or the Gulls, unfortunately, Eddie, as they got eliminated in 2 games in that 3-game series.
Yeah, see, you know what? I totally forgot about. I need to follow the AHL and their rules more. I totally forgot it was 3-game series. But I thought it was I thought for some reason it was 5, and I know it comes up to 7. I think when it goes to the final or their conference finals in their Calder Cup. But I was disappointed because I was like thinking in my mind, hey, I live down the street from there. Cost me a $25 Uber ride. I can take my girlfriend, which is a Kings fan. We can have a good time, rocking our respective jerseys, and then they're out. But the good news is, the Gulls are playing the Eagles, so I can go and cheer for the Eagles to beat the the Rain. I can go cheer for them, but yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that we had just one team to root for, and now we have 0 teams to root for. So now we just can talk about who we're going to root against and who we want to lose for the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oh yeah, and we'll save that till the end. We got plenty to talk about because Eddie's second team has already gone to the second round, and my team is laying our second team is laying the smack down on the Rangers. So, which I'm loving it. So we'll save that a little bit to the end when we talk about like the league news and whatnot that's going on. But yeah, in terms of the Ducks, obviously their season over, then the Gulls over, so that's it. We kind of have to look towards next season for Anaheim. Real quick, our show is sponsored by BodyCheckWellness.com. Check them out for all your healthcare product needs. You can use code OCS, all capital letters, and get a discount as well. So check out Body Check Wellness, and it's check, CHEK, wellness.com. So I guess the big thing in terms of being an Anaheim fan and the things going on next season, I think a lot of people are kind of nervous but kind of excited. You heard that the Ducks gave an extension to Aikens for 1 more year in his contract. We talked about Callie Klang coming in there in the entry-level contract. They actually named another assistant GM, Rob DeMaio, and he's also going to serve as the GM for the Gulls. He helped build St. Louis up as the director of player personnel, and obviously St. Louis won a Stanley Cup recently as well. So a lot of interesting things going on. You also have Kessler's contract coming off the books, Getzlaf's contract coming off, unless he does pull a Solani and do the 1 year thing, which I don't think he's going to do that. But it's interesting times in Anaheim because you're going to have a lot of cap space. You've got some of these contracts off. Another assistant GM coming in. A lot of people aren't really happy about Aikens. They're upset. We got some fan questions too. Some of you asked about Barry Trotz, if he's going to come in. I mean, I don't see that happening. They already gave Aikens that 1 year extension. He's going to fulfill it. And I don't know. I kind of have mixed emotions. I think, like we talk about Zegras and Terry and some of the players, I think some of the stuff that's kind of happened this season with the lineup is just optimizing the players, and I don't know that Dallas has done that with this team. I know he's well respected amongst the players, but I feel sometimes the lineup could be a little bit better. We've talked about Terry, Milano, and Zegras being on the line. That's kind of the one you and I said, hey, these guys got to be the top line or the second top line for the forwards. So a lot of question marks about next season. A lot of cap space for the Ducks. We'll talk about that in a minute. But how do you feel, Eddie? I mean, it's kind of a weird period that the Ducks are in right now. You've got a coach coming back where people have mixed feelings. You have another assistant GM coming in the mix. All kinds of chatter about Gibson being traded lately. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of all the years of being a Ducks fan and following this team. It's just a very, very interesting period that this team is entering this summer.
Yeah. My whole thing was I wanted our new GM to bring in everyone he wanted to. Don't hold any emotional ties. You didn't hire these people. You didn't draft these people. you do what the hell you want. You're going to make trades. We're not going to like it. There's players that you and I get attached to. We're not going to like trade it, but that's part of business. And that's what I wanted our new GM to come out here and do. Now, if he really feels like Akins is the future, the coach that can really like bring us up there and give us that level of success that we can move forward, then so be it. However, it probably wouldn't have been my option, but obviously he knows what he's doing. He's made some terrific moves for the post deadline or for the deadline. My whole thing is maybe he's still like committed to this rebuild and knows that this team is still rebuilding. The players have a great relationship with him. He knows how to deal with our younger players. Zegras has a really exciting, exuberant personality, calling everyone dude and stuff. Akins knows how to handle that kind of I guess him, and as a spunky kid. I'd say run with it. Ducks aren't going to be a Stanley Cup contending team next season. They made huge strides, but then we saw a 180 completely, and now we're moving forward without our long-term captain, so we're going to have to lean on someone to kind of mold the team and build around that captain and see how they can perform and see if the team's going to go and kind of take to them and see what they can do. I think it's the right move. As player development, let him develop the players. He's done a wonderful job with the Gulls when he was the Gulls head coach, developing these players, and just let him develop these players, and the superstars are going to come following next season. If the Ducks still aren't making that stride to be that contending team, then get rid of them. But who knows? Maybe the Ducks will surprise everyone this season and make a stride that they did this season. It's going to wait and see. I can't see it right now unless we make some significant offseason moves. But it's going to have to wait and see. As far as the Gibson situation, if you're truly committed to a full rebuild and want to accelerate it and bring up huge assets in return to the team, obviously trading Gibson would be a good thing to do. It'd be like one of the most ultimate blockbuster moves you can do, and you'll get significant return for him. Especially a lot of teams are thriving for a goalie, his style and his elite level style. He's been arguably the best, if not number 2 goalie in the whole league for a couple seasons. I mean, obviously, you have a Markstrom and Shesterkin. Sorry, my lisp is catching up to me, from New York. But he's still up there as an elite superstar goalie. He'll fetch a huge return. So it's going to be up to Verbeek if he wants to go and make a move like that. Fans are going to like it. I know it's going to be a big, pitchforks by some fans, I don't know what you call unpitchforks by other fans too. But if we feel like we have goalies in the pipeline, or we can develop other goalies, and then so be it. I want to do what's the best for this team. I want to just get us back to our winning ways, and I want to see the Ducks win the Stanley Cup soon.
You hit on a lot of good things there, Eddie. I think with Gibson, it seems like fans get so polarized by him. Some people think he's like the greatest thing ever and he can do no wrong. Other people are like, oh, he gets injury prone, trade him, bye-bye, whatever. I mean, the way I look at it is this: at the trade deadline, the Ducks did get phone calls on Gibson. They did listen to offers on Gibson at the trade deadline. Obviously, that did not happen. He did not get moved. But I think in the summertime, there is a real chance that he may get moved. A couple of the teams that have been thrown out there is Pittsburgh, Toronto. He's got family in Pittsburgh, so that's one that has been mentioned before a couple times. Toronto is like always synonymous with the Ducks, so I don't know, how much that is, but it seems like those two teams always come up at trade deadline. So tons of rumors flying around, but I think it goes back to, okay, who are we looking to the future in net? I mean, are we looking at Stolars and Dostal as being the guys to lead this team? Callie Klang getting signed. Some people are like, oh, well, now he's coming in and Gibson's out. I mean, that I don't necessarily think. You're talking about a guy getting an entry-level contract. I get it. But you still have these other couple goalies ahead of him. So I think the summer is going to be very, very interesting. I think that there are going to be moves with this team. I think that Pat Verbeek is going to look around, talk to people. Like I said, there's been interest in Gibson at this last trade deadline. It kind of ramped up a little bit to see what happens. But some stuff's going to happen. The Ducks also have a lot of UFAs and RFAs and things to go through, cap space that's available now. I'm hoping that a lot of things will happen. And I mean, we're not going to go into too much as far as like the draft and free agency and all that. We're going to have a whole another show dedicated to that, and we'll break it down even more. But I just think stuff's going to happen with this team. I really do. Another interesting part to this is Manson, Raquel, Lindholm, Delorier. They all get traded at the deadline. I'm hearing that some of those guys may come back. Maybe Manson and maybe D'Lo. I'm hearing, might want to come back to Anaheim if Verbeek wants to bring him back. But like you mentioned, Verbeek doesn't have attachment to these people. It's not like Murray was there, so I don't know if that's going to happen for sure. Raquel and Lindholm, I don't think they're going to come back. If you followed some of Lindholm's comments in the last couple of weeks in the media, nothing against the guy, but they weren't very favorable comments about his experience in Anaheim recently. So I highly doubt Raquel and Lindholm come back, but I kind of watched D'Lo and Manson. Maybe one of those guys come back. And I'm really curious with Gibson. I mean, there's just a lot of question marks, a lot of things to keep your eye on, Eddie, as we go into the summer coming up here.
It's going to be a really interesting draft day. Usually, I'm not too excited. We know Bob Murray's just going to, pouring more vodka into his coffee cup and not do a damn thing. But I think there's going to be some significant strides and moves to be made at this trade deadline. This pick is an ultimate... This is a huge, important pick for Verbeek. This is his first pick as a Ducks GM. That's going to be his player, so he's going to have to really do his due diligence and his homework and trust his scouts and put in the work too. So I'm looking forward to see what he does. And who knows, he could just throw a Hail Mary and end up trading that 10th overall and packaging something and bringing in a player that can significantly help us and to get us up there. We all know how Zegras plays. Bringing another player to help with Zegras and to develop him would be great too. Obviously, I would love Delorier back, and not just because that emotional attachment you have to players. I significantly think that he needs to be on the Ducks. We need someone like that, or we need Manson back. Jay Beagle needs to answer for what he did to Troy Terry, that cross-check on Zegras. Maybe I'll let the cross-check go on Zegras because, okay, you're touching the goalie, I get that. But you doing that to Troy Terry and his comments after, no, you got to get your ass beat, bro. And I'm looking forward to the Ducks playing Arizona, and I really hope it's the first game of the season. But he needs to answer for what he did. And if you have a guy like Delorier who's been playing on the team, who has that connection to Zegras and Terry, I'm pretty sure he's out for blood and he wants some payback too. Manson, too. We've seen him beat the shit out of Tyler Myers. We had a great song about it. I think that was the most explosive video we had on our social media too, Mike. When I posted that Miley Cyrus song, and we posted that was just awesome. So those two players I wouldn't mind having back. Manson will be a little bit harder because his term and his dollar amount is going to be a little more up there, but I think they're two players that we still need. In today's NHL, we still need those tough guys. We still need those guys that are willing to put that team first and do what it needs to do to make sure and protect their teammates.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that as far as, protecting the teammates and whatnot. And yeah, you're right. The video that we had on Manson with Tyler Myers was huge. That one, I can't remember how many, views and whatnot it got. But you're right. That's something for this team to try to figure out in the off season. A lot of people sit there and look at, fighting and being the grinder, and it's not as big of a deal, but I think it's still something that you need as part of the game. If you didn't listen to our last show, we had Teemu Solani on there. He talked about that whole Terry Beagle incident as well, and that's one thing that's kind of worrisome with this team. The Ducks team is very, very young, not really a big size team, especially with Manson and D'Lo being moved out. So that's something to look at. I'm really curious to see if Verbeek will bring either one of them back in the offseason or someone else of a similar type style of game, for this team. But a lot of unknowns for this team going in the summer, Eddie. A lot of unknowns. I think the big thing, too, is who are they going to bring back? Like you talked about, trying to get somebody complimentary to Zegras. Are you going to play him with Milano and Terry? Or are you going to mix it up? A lot of people upset about Grant being in there in the mix. We saw Comtois not playing as well, and then kind of picked it up towards the end. We're going to have Max Jones back next season. He was out. He wasn't able to play. You also know that Silverberg did not finish the season as well with that blood clot. So a lot of unanswered questions for this team in the summertime. I'm really curious to see who they're going to bring back of the rostered players. They have Zach Aston Reese. That's a UFA. Jerry Mayhew that they picked up off waivers. He's also UFA. Dominic Simone. You have Leterrier and then a Schuster as well, who I'm not really a big fan of Schuster, but I guess Verbeek likes him a lot. So, the other issue that I have with this team is optimizing the forward lineup under Akins, but also the defensive outlook on this team. I'm kind of nervous. Well, you and I talked about this before, and looking at this team, when you moved out Lindholm and Manson, you've got Fowler, Shattenkirk, Drysdale, you've got Vakanainen, who's an RFA, and then that's really it for the Ducks' top four. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about the Ducks' defense going into next season. I really want to see what they're going to do, because I think they need to add somebody else defensively that's going to help out on this team. Otherwise, it might be a rough season next year. I mean, we already know, like you said, they're not going to be a Stanley Cup team next year. But, for me, it's all about defense before offense. And the Ducks' defense is kind of shaky now without Lindholm and Manson in there. I don't know. I'm really nervous about what's going to happen defensively with this team. I think on the forwards, they can be okay. They've got Milano, Lundestrom, and Steele that are all RFAs, and they can bring them back. I know a lot of you, we got some fan questions, were concerned about Sam Steele. We had Super Bjorn 31. He talks about the Ducks going to bring him back. We have Ducks Dude 15. Talking about Steele, that he's not playing well and that quote unquote sucks. Whether or not we agree. I don't think Sam Steele sucks, but I mean, he's not doing as well as some of these other forwards are, for sure. So I think a lot of stuff is up in the air. I think a lot of trades can happen. A bunch of you asked questions about, hey, the Ducks have a lot of draft picks. What are they going to do with all the picks? Are they going to use them all or trade them all? I think some stuff's going to happen. I think there are going to be some trades and there are going to be some moves made. And I think they're necessary. I personally would trade Sam Steele. I've kind of, my patience is kind of worn thin on him, unfortunately. I think it's time to move him. Milano, I like what he did last season, and Lundestrom as well. I think you keep those guys. That's kind of where I'm at with the RFAs. The UFAs, I don't know. With Reese, Mayhew, Simone, Leterrier, I'm kind of 50-50 on those guys. I'm not really like, oh, bring them back, we need them, but I'm also not like, oh, get rid of them. I'm kind of like, maybe you keep a couple and you don't keep a couple. That's kind of where I'm at, Eddie, as far as the restricted and unrestricted free agents.
Yeah, as far as the restricted free agents, I would bring all of them back. I mean, why not? Maybe not Sam Steele. It seemed like Sam Steele kind of like he fell off. Well, you know what? But I think with Sam Steele, when he didn't get that opening to start roster, it seemed like he was in the doghouse to begin with, and you went with McTavish to go and over him. I think that was kind of I was surprised that he was still part of the Ducks come the past trade deadline, but his play has just been too inconsistent. We've seen flashes of greatness for him. I've had high hopes thinking he was going to kind of just develop into that player, that top six role. He has those games where you see that kind of style into him, and he doesn't. So with him, I would say just trade him. There's some value there. You're right. As far as the UFAs, I don't really see anyone that stands out. Sisters is a really big body, 6'7", 6'8", but it's just other than that, there's going to be a lot of other players in the open market. Let's get some change in Anaheim and see what can happen. Obviously, the Ducks played atrocious. That last half of hockey, they were just terrible. Some games are really hard to watch, and I watched a lot of them on replay. I couldn't watch them live because of my schedule, so I come home at night just wanting to chill, relax, have a few beers. I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I didn't watch this live. I'd have been just devastated. But I mean, I wouldn't mind letting all of them walk. Maybe Lettieri, if for a San Diego Gulls depth move. But other than that, I don't see any of the UFAs really making a significant impact moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. And these UFAs and RFAs we're talking about, those are the ones that have been on the roster. Obviously, there's some down in San Diego that they can look at as well and bring back. Not really going to break down all of those that have been in the minors and whatnot. But as far as the roster players is what Eddie and I are talking about. Those that, that they can look at. Another one on there is Jacob Larson. He's also an RFA. I know a lot of you aren't happy with him and the way that he's played. He hasn't really been as solid defensively, making some turnovers and whatnot. And that's just what concerns me with this team is defensively. I'm very, very concerned with this team. I don't like the top four that the Ducks have right now. I don't think Vakanainen is terrible. He's done some good things. He's added some value. I think that they should bring him back as an RFA. But when you have Shattenkirk, Fowler, Drysdale, and Vakanainen as your top four, I don't know. To me, that doesn't look good for the Ducks defense. It's very concerning to me. I think offensively, the Ducks can do okay if the right pairings are together. I think a lot of it, too, Eddie and I talk about intangibles, is the chemistry. I still like Terry, Milano, and Zegras. Throw them together and let them do their thing. You throw Grant on whatever other line, let him do his thing on those lines. But you make up the other lines and you try to work it out that way. I think you got to really build it out. With those guys being together, those three seem to do pretty well. I mean, Terry did very, very well with Getzlaf in there, but obviously Getzlaf's gone unless some kind of miracle comes off. So, looking at the lineup, I think that's the way you go. If they bring back Aston Reese, throw him in there. There's a couple guys, Dominic Simone. If you want to bring him back, throw him in there, fine. I think the Ducks can work out that top six with Zegras, Milano, Terry as the top line. You have Henrique, Comtois in there, also Lundestrom as well. Henrique's probably second line center, first line center, Lundestrom maybe the third line center. And then it's, Silverberg's fine, Max Jones is fine. You bring those guys back as well. I think your top six forwards aren't terrible, or even top nine for the Ducks. You may have to figure out what your fourth line is going to be. I don't know, looking at these UFAs, what they're going to do, if they're going to bring all these guys back or not. But it's just interesting times. I think a lot of stuff's going to happen in this off season. I'm really curious. The Ducks have a lot of picks, a lot of things that can happen. The draft lottery just happened as well. The Ducks were slated at 10th, and they ended up getting 10th. So they didn't gain any spots. They didn't lose any spots. They've lost spots the last 3 years. So at least they didn't go down in that draft order for the first round. But a lot of wiggle room there for the Ducks. A lot of picks that Verbeek set up during the trade deadline. So the one good thing with this team going into the summer, if you're concerned, is there's a lot of options. They can draft a lot of young talent. They can trade for a lot of people, kind of go in between as well. They also have a crap ton of cap space. It looks like 35, 40 million going into the summer, so they can pick up some notable free agents and whatnot as well. And like I said, we'll do a separate show on that. So it's a very uncertain time for this team right now. And I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people are stressed out about Akins coming back. I'm not really that worried about Akins, other than if he can leave the forward lines kind of alone and let them do their thing. I feel some of the games the best lineup wasn't always out there, which was frustrating. And then we saw flashes of when the right pairings are out there, the team did better. So I really want to see how that develops. And like we talked about, the goalie situation as well. So just really a lot of unknowns, Eddie, with this team. I feel like they outperformed in the beginning of the season. We had the stuff with Murray happen. He got booted out. They brought in Verbeek. The Ducks started out well, scoring goals. Special teams started out well. Terry started out playing well, had that crazy point streak. Then the middle of the season, things got kind of messed up with COVID and people being injured and all kinds of different things, and the season kind of changed. They didn't do as well in the second half. So the question is can they build this team up to be more consistent next season? And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I like I said before when we talked about this, I think a lot of teams underestimated Anaheim. They came ready to play the Ducks, thinking the Ducks were going to play that same style of hockey, the same style we've been seeing for years, the same power play. But you had guys like Zegras, you have exploding Terry. Just the team's dynamic changed, and I don't think a lot of teams were aware of that or how to deal with that, and they came out flat-footed and expecting an easy win for the Ducks, and the Ducks made them pay. And I don't think it's going to be the case like that come next season. I think it's going to be a little harder for the Ducks because teams are going to be expecting, keep an extra eye out for Troy Terry, who just exploded this season. But guys like Trevor Zegras, where he didn't really have that sophomore slump that a lot of rookies do have. So maybe, I guess, next season he'll be considered that sophomore slump if he does that sophomore season. But I'm still counting the first season he did play. So it's going to be one of those like wait and see situations. It's going to be interesting, like you said, Mike. I think a lot of moves are going to be made. But I'm here in the long run. I'm looking forward to next season. I'm looking forward to watching the games. Despite if the Ducks start off really bad, I'll still be there paying $17 for a beer and complaining about it on the show like I always do. But it's not going to be forever. I like where this team's going. You see that glimmer of hope. It's not going to be like the Coyotes or the Buffalo Sabres. You actually see a spark in this team and something special beginning to build right there. So it's going to be fun to see it, and just I'm glad that we can talk about it right now. And it's going to be one of those things. Come a few seasons, we'll be like, "Whoa, remember the Ducks were this bad, and now look at us."
Yeah, absolutely. Just stick through it and see how they're going to do. I think they can only go up from here. Obviously, some things that they got to do in the offseason. I'm curious to see who they draft and who they trade for and whatnot. So, just kind of hold tight, obviously, as the playoffs are going on right now. We're not in it and whatnot. You do have the IAHF Worlds coming up. Comtois, Dostal, Simone, and Leterrier are in those. So that's something to look forward to. You've got Comtois representing Canada, Leterrier with USA, and then Dostal and Simone with the Czech team. So some stuff to look forward to a little bit in the offseason. And like I said, a lot of articles that we'll have written as well that Thomas is covering, a lot of the prospects and their development and whatnot. So I'm still excited for next season. I'm really curious to see who they bring in to help pump this team up. I think free agency might be kind of crazy for the Ducks as well, or maybe even the draft if they make some trades as well. So don't count this team out. I know this season, first half was fantastic. They were up there in the top, and then the second half was not as great. So I just want to see how they do. I think there's a lot of unknowns, and I think that they might come out and surprise people next season. Like we said, they're not going to be a Stanley Cup contending team, but they can come out like they did this season, and if they can maintain it, then maybe they do make the playoffs, and we see what happens. You had some definite glimmers of hope today with some of the play. Zegras, of course, with his lacrosse goals. We saw what he did at the All-Star game. Terry exploded this season. Milano did well as too. I mean, there was a lot of positive stuff with the team. Maybe more so individual efforts, maybe not so much the team as a whole. So I'm really curious to see, how it's going to all unfold. We just have the draft and the free agency that we'll have another show talking about some of those in a little bit later. But it's interesting, and this year's been crazy. A lot of stuff happened with this team. Nobody at the beginning of the season thought Bob Murray would be gone. Nobody thought Ryan Getzlaf was going to retire. Just crazy. I don't know. It seems like every season something happens with this team, Eddie. It's like We joke it's like the most interesting team in the NHL. I swear, whether they win or lose, there's always just something to talk about that goes on with this team.
Well, that's good for us. It gives more conversation. The only positive thing, at least we haven't really had that big of controversy from our players. We don't have players that are causing off-ice incidents making us infamous. So at least we're getting more exposure from the incidents that happened. I mean, obviously the Bob Murray situation, it was kind of a blowback, but the way the Ducks handled it and came out and did that, and the way the league responded, I think that was really positive. And it showed the Ducks' level of commitment to their employees, and they want to just bring that toxic person out and to have a better work environment for their employees. And I guess it's a better quality of life for your employees when you bring someone like that. It's bringing your organization down.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going in the direction they did, bringing in Verbeek, I think it was a huge win for this team. I like Rob DeMaio. He really helped St. Louis, go and win a Stanley Cup. So I think he's going to be a good addition as well for this team. So I like what I've seen so far. I think it can only go up. Like I said, let's see who we get in the draft. Let's see what happens in free agency. Let's see if Verbeek makes some big moves. Maybe he does trade Gibson. Maybe he trades a couple other players. Does some stuff like that. There's obviously rumors and things like that going out there. So still things to ponder, and whether or not some of the guys will come back as well. So with that, I guess really talk about the playoffs. Real quick, another sponsor of ours is zstacklife.com. Great multivitamin I've been taking for a long time. If you want to check them out, like I said, go to zstacklife.com and you can enter in my name, Mike, and get a discount. A really great multivitamin I've been taking for a while now that's been helping out. So, with the last segment on the show is really the playoffs. I mean, the Ducks are out of it, but a lot of good hockey. I don't know if you've been watching all these other games, but Eddie's Abs laid the smackdown on Smashville, a.k.a. Trashville. I don't know if anybody did a welfare check on Carrie Underwood, but the Abs swept Nashville. I was very happy about that. Obviously, Manson's over there, so we're keep an eye on that. My Penguins are laying the smackdown on the Rangers. They blew them out in the last game. Looking pretty strong there too. A lot of these series are 2-2. Toronto just beat the Lightning, so Toronto's actually up 3-2 against Tampa Bay. Carolina's also up 3-2 over Boston. So, what do you think about the playoffs so far, Eddie?
I think it's been pretty exciting. I catch a lot of these games on replay. Like I said, my schedule is just kind of crazy right now, but yeah, I do try to catch all the Avalanche games. Those have been fun to watch. They're a great team. Cale Makar is a phenomenal defenseman. The Avs got lucky at snagging him at 4th overall. He had 10 points in those 4 games. That's just insane numbers he's putting on. He's putting on a clinic. He's such an amazing and effective player. He's going to help lead this Avalanche to a Stanley Cup, I feel. I think this team has made the moves to get that Stanley Cup. I've been watching a lot of the Kings and Oilers series too. Obviously, you guys know my girlfriend's a Kings fan, and she's like an avid fan, not one of those people that just doesn't know hockey. I can sit there and talk to her about players, and she'll respond with their stats and where they play too. And it's cool to have that dialogue with someone like that. Especially, I love talking hockey. I do want the Kings to win, and not for her. I think I don't think I want the Kings to win. I just don't want the Oilers to lose, because I think they still cry about that goalie interference, and their fan base irritates me, and I can't root for anyone that has that piece of shit Evander Kane on their team. I can't do that at all, so I don't care if the Oilers are playing the Wild. I would go for the Wild at that point, because it's just I can't root for any team that employs Evander Kane. And oh my gosh, I hope the Ducks don't even try to attempt to get him next season, because that would piss me off. And I don't know, Mike. I probably wouldn't watch a lot of the Ducks games or root for the Ducks if they got a player like that on their squad.
Man, that whole Kings-Oilers thing kills me, man. I can't stand either team. And we just had the comeback on Catella anniversary, too, as well. Like you were talking about, they're all mad about Kessler with that goalie interference. So I laugh at that as well. It's just tough. I don't want the Kings, obviously, to keep on going. And if they get a third cup, we'll never hear the end of that nonsense if they make it. But
they are not winning the cup. They are not winning the cup at all.
Yeah, and the Oilers are irritating AF as well. So I'm like, I'm kind of torn. You got Calgary and Dallas. Whoever wins that one will face those two teams. Yeah, I don't know. I just, I don't know. It's tough for me. I don't like either one of those teams. But whoever wins, I hope they lose to Calgary or Dallas, and that we just don't have to worry about it anymore. I still like the Avs. We had our playoff bracket that we set up. I have the Avs playing the Penguins. I know that's Eddie and my second teams, but that's what I have. Looking at everything and looking at the stats and whatnot, and even what I've been watching so far, I think there's a real strong possibility that Colorado faces Pittsburgh in the Stanley Cup final. I may jinx it by saying that, but that's just what I think. But
that'd be fun. And Mike, if that happens, we got to plan a trip to go to Colorado and catch a game. I'm kind of hoping, and I hope it doesn't bite me in the ass, and it just doesn't I don't know, but I'm kind of hoping that the Kings make the Western Conference final and the Avalanche do, because I can go and watch the Avalanche beat the hell out of the Kings at Crypto Arena now, they call it. Because last time I went there with my girlfriend, the Avs smoked them 5-1. Don't dummy the Kings. It's just going to be fun if that happens, so I can just go to a game for cheaper and not have to fly out there to Colorado to watch the Avalanche play.
And I might take you up on that. You know what? If the Kings play the Avs in the Western Conference final, I would love to go and see the Avs just smoke the crap out of the Kings in LA at Staples, aka Crypto Arena or whatever. That part, I mean, I don't want them to keep on going, but you're right. If they played the Avs in the Western Conference final, I would go the game with you in LA. That would be hilarious. You and I could root for the Avs, your girl could root for the Kings, and we would just, oh my God, dude, that
you could rock an Avs jersey. I have a bunch of Avs jerseys too you can wear.
Dude, that would be insane, bro. Something I thought about. So maybe I do want the Kings to beat Edmonton.
I just want Evander Kane not to have any success. I think he's what's wrong with the league, and I can't believe the organization, the National Hockey League, has him still playing of the stuff that he's done that's been on video. It's just, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's just something like that is just a cancer to the sport. I can't believe that he's actually still playing. So I root against him, and I'll never root for a team with him on it. So it's just, sorry, dude, not my cup of tea.
No, I think a lot of people feel the same way as you. I don't know how he's still in the league. So yeah, it looks like the Avalanche will host either Minnesota or St. Louis. They're battling it out. Like we said, Calgary, Dallas, Edmonton, LA, all battling it out in their series. On the East, you got my second team, the Pens, laying the smackdown. The Rangers. I don't know what's going on with them. They're falling apart. So it looks like the Pens might play Carolina. That would be a pretty interesting series, with Carolina being the number one seed. And then on the other side, you've got Florida and the Capitals, battling it out. And then, like we said, Toronto just took the lead over Tampa. Yeah, Tampa gets knocked out. A little bit of a surprise here. Everybody talks about Toronto and how they choke in the playoffs. I still don't see Toronto going all the way, but it looks like they've got the edge on Tampa Bay right now. So I'm really curious to see what happens. If they get past them, then they will face either Florida or Washington. But I'm still looking at the Penguins, and I'm still looking at Colorado. Those are the ones. It did suck. I don't know if you saw that hit on Raquel. I remember I posted it on social media. Everybody went nuts, but he got knocked out, and he hasn't played since. So I really hope Raquel gets back in there. And I would love to see him win a cup with the Penguins. I mean, it'd be awesome if that happens. I'd also love to see Manson get one with Colorado as well, Eddie. I mean, we got some former Ducks in here in the mix. And, I mean, it's just funny that they end up on our second teams. Also, Andrew Cogliano as well. So, he's on the Avs. So, I mean, you've got a few guys in there. I would not be upset with the Avs or the Pens winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well, obviously, like the Avalanche for me. I mean, I wouldn't mind the Penguins either. I don't. I know everyone has a big deal with Crosby, but I think he's a really great player. I wouldn't mind that. Florida, I wouldn't mind. I still think that Washington might be able to take them. I really think that Tampa Bay Lightning are going to beat Toronto. I don't think Toronto's going to make it past the first round. They had that thing of choking. I know it's like the way they're playing and the win they have right now. Austin Matthews is being a monster. That choke factor, it gets to a lot of teams' head, and they overthink when you have that. I guess that losing mentality that they have. They're not trying to do it. It just sticks in there. I think hockey's a game that if you overthink something, you can end up being your worst enemy. So I'm looking forward to the next round of the playoffs. It's only going to get more and more intense, and I'm definitely looking forward for the Stanley Cup final, and just hope the Avalanche are in it.
I know. I still, a lot of people when their team's out, they don't watch, but it's been fun. I mean, I've been busy at my new assignment, but I've been catching the games when I can, and it's fun. I try to watch, especially in the first couple weeks of the playoffs, because you've got all these teams in it. I just sit there and you got a game at 4, you got a game at 7, you got a game at 10, at least if you're on the West Coast time. You got all these games going on. It's fun, in the first round, even the second round. So I'm really curious to see what happens. It's been exciting so far. I mean, it's been, besides the Avs series, because it was 4-0, all the other series have been extremely competitive. Even the Penguins, even though they're up 3-1 on New York Rangers, that one's been competitive, and they can't stand each other. So it's been entertaining to watch. So, and if you're in our bracket, the top 3 will get some prizes too as well. So thank you to all of you that joined in there, and we're trying to get more on a regular schedule. It's just been so tough with both of our schedules and what we've been doing this season. It's been insane. But next season we'll try to get more on a weekly basis. That's kind of what we're hoping for. But we're really gonna in the summer look to see what happens. We'll come up with a draft and free agency show and talk about what we think is going to happen, some possible picks with the Ducks, and where they land. But I'm just really curious. The Ducks have a lot of cap space this summer, a lot of UFAs and RFAs, plenty of things to do. I think the best way I can sum up this team is there's tons of options in the summer for them. Plenty of direction that they can go, free agents that they can sign, draft picks that they can trade. So even though this last season started out great and kind of went downhill, and now we're sitting here, we're talking about the playoffs and watching these other teams, I'm still hopeful for next season. I think this team can do some good things. I really do. I think that they can make a push for the playoffs right now. I know it's way early and I'm saying that, but I think there's a lot of things that they can add to this team, and they can only go up from here, while we sit here on the sidelines and watch these other teams, Eddie.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not holding my breath on that. I want to see what they do in the off season, if they're gonna go for that those players that are gonna be available, and how the team performs. It was something different. We all expected the worst this season, and all of a sudden the Ducks came out and surprised everybody. So I don't know if we'll be able to replicate that. I hope for the best, prepare for the worst, but if the Ducks have another down season next season, they get that top 10 or top 5 draft pick, I'm not going to be mad. I understand the process of a rebuild. It takes time. You don't want to rush these things. We've seen what New Jersey has done before by rushing a rebuild, and look how crappy they've been. They've won spots and jumped ahead of teams numerous times, but it hasn't really paid dividends for them. So I'm patient with the process, and I just trust in our GM that he can build the best team for us.
Absolutely. That's the key, is putting, we trust in Verbeek. Like you said, in the offseason. I just wanted to mention real quick, too, on that draft lottery. This is kind of how it broke down. The Montreal Canadiens came out first, the Devils second, Coyotes third, Kraken fourth, Flyers fifth, Blue Jackets sixth, Senators 7, Red Wings 8, Sabres 9th, and then the Ducks rounding out the top 10. So that's where they ended up. in the draft lottery. No changes for Anaheim. They did not go down, but they did not go up. So I was surprised. I thought the Ducks may go down again because it seems like we always get screwed at the draft lottery. But we ended up holding out at 10. Obviously not going up. But, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I like watching the playoffs. I like seeing what's going on. Next season should be a lot of fun. A lot of you guys, just supporting the show. I really appreciate it. I know we've been inconsistent this last year, unfortunately, just kind of the way Eddie and my schedules worked. Like I said, we're going to try to get on a better schedule next year. Eddie getting done with the cybersecurity and me getting this new schedule and things down. We may change up how we do it, like what days of the week or whatnot. And we might try to squeeze in a couple of interviews here and there and some random shows and whatnot. But just really appreciate you guys sticking through it this year. I know that after, basically 2021, we go into 2022 and the Ducks kind of started falling apart. It wasn't easy following this team the second half of the season. And appreciate you guys. And a lot of you messaged me recently, like, when's the next show and all that stuff and whatnot. And I know it's been tough. So I'm glad you guys stuck through it this season. Like I said, we'll try to do some more stuff regularly. We did do a live show at the trade deadline. That's some other things that Eddie and I are working on doing as well. So we'll keep working on different things and whatnot throughout the season. I just thank everybody for keeping this going. I mean, Eddie helps out with the game Twitter account. We have Mario and Aaron also help out. Thomas does a phenomenal job with all the AHL and minor league stuff that covers it, and we have a handful of other people that are helping out as well doing all of it. So, it takes a team to do this, and it's been fun, no matter what, win, lose, or lose in overtime, or however you want to say it, or in a shootout. It's been, a fun ride with everybody, and, we appreciate the support from all of you out there that listen, your fan questions and whatnot, that, just keep the show going, and we'll see what happens in the summertime, and we'll have some more shows as well. We're not going anywhere. We'll do something about the draft. We'll do something on the free agency. And, as September, October comes around, we'll start talking about next season and the outlook once we know what's going to happen here in the next month or two. So while the Ducks are out of it, I hope you guys are enjoying the playoffs. Eddie and I are watching as many games as we can. It's been exciting. I love just the game in general. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, Eddie, but I just appreciate everybody's support.
Oh, definitely. I think you said it best. I'm sorry. I apologize. I haven't been 100%. I usually give more into the show and everything. I'm doing the best I can. I have a lot going on in my life. Cybersecurity, it wasn't easy. It's still not easy. I'm still going through that right now to finish all my certifications so I can move forward in that field. Obviously, getting a girlfriend was something unexpected, but obviously the little extra I have too, I had to give it to her, and she's been there helping me out through my process right now about just being a good sport about just chilling here while I'm studying. So it's just life just kind of throws things unexpectedly at you. You should have to adapt and overcome and move forward. But hopefully next season, once I finish all my certifications in the next several weeks, we'll have more consistency and we'll have more shows and hopefully some more things. But I appreciate everyone's support, everyone that checks in, that makes the comments, that the likes, the retweets, the likes on Facebook, on Instagram. You guys are killing it too. I don't know what's going on Instagram, but it's been fun. Always looking forward to talk hockey with everyone. I know I don't get to respond as fast or quick as possible anymore, but I'll get back to you when I have the time to breathe. But thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and you touched on Instagram. Instagram, you guys have been amazing. You just blew it up this season. We went over 10,000 followers, so there's a lot of stuff we've been doing on there, a lot of giveaways as well. We gave away tickets to the final game, home game with Getzlaf played in, and we're just going to give away more stuff as well. I've got tons of other things I just got more stuff to give away. We gave away a couple of jerseys. A lot of you also bought a handful of Getzlaf shirts that we had. You can get more gear at tpnhockey.com, so check that out as well if you want to pick up some more gear and whatnot. And just appreciate all the support. Another thing we have that's coming up from we're part of the Old City Sports Network. They have an event coming up at the end of May. If you want to check it out, Ice Wars. They have merch as well there too, and you can download the Fit TV app on your iPhone or Android. So the first event is going to be in Edmonton on May 21st. You can check them out on Twitter at Ice is War, also on Instagram as well, and www.iwifights.com. Big event that they're sponsoring. Should be a lot of fun as well. And we're going to keep doing more shows with them too next season. We did a couple of group shows this last season. Try to work those in as well. Maybe get Eddie and I both in the mix on those and whatnot, and try to bring you some more content. So just appreciate all the support. And this last year, I know it's been a bumpy road, but hey, you guys stuck through it. And we'll have a couple more shows this summer, and let's go Ducks.